Aloha! Welcome to Kaleo o Hawaii's Democratic Congressional Forum for Hawaii's first congressional district. This event is co-sponsored by the Associated Students of the University of Hawaii and Americans for Democratic Action. And this forum is brought to you by Kaleo o Hawaii, the University of Hawaii at Manoa's Student News Organization. My name is Spencer Oshita, Kaleo's editor-in-chief, and I will be tonight's host and moderator. Here with us are two of the candidates running to replace the late Congressman K. Mark Tataii, Lei Sharsh-Davis and Steve Tataii. Candidates, please introduce yourself and give us a brief look at your platform and why you're running. You have 2 minutes for your response. Lei, we'll start with you.
Aloha, my name is Lei Sharsh-Davis, and I'm running for this seat because I believe I can continue Congressman Mark Tataii's legacy and mission in Washington. Although I've had the privilege and honor in meeting Mark Tataii at several of his fundraisers before he won his congressional seat, I know that Congressman Tataii was a very caring and sensitive and hardworking young man. He had worked over 20 years in politics, served in the military, and cares so much about keiki and kupuna in Hawaii. As myself, I care about the keiki and kupuna in Hawaii. I am born and raised in Hawaii, 5 generations. My dad was in the Army. My husband retired from the Navy. His dad and grandfather and uncle also served in the military. My husband's 2 daughters also served in the Navy. So I'm very pro-military. And my platform is what I call the 4 E's: energy, environment, education, and economy. Thank you.
Aloha. My condolences goes to the family of late Congressman Mark Tataii, and I offer my condolences to Kaleo o Hawaii as well. And I'd like to call for 15 seconds of silence. Thank you. Late Congressman Mackay and I were schoolmates. We also shared a class in political science. I remember he was the kindest, the most generous person I had ever met in the University of Hawaii. And I offered many letters to the editor, and he accepted the letters. I remember that we were in the rallies related to the tuition hike. And so I hope that that all the relatives and friends will have patience, and I wish the surviving relatives and friends the best of well-being. My own issues, generally I didn't want to spend too much time, but if I may, I'd like to elaborate. My name again is Steve Tataii, and I'm running for U.S. House District 1, Urban Honolulu. My first campaign for office was in 1988 in a race for State House 2, just 2 years after getting my degrees from UH, in political science and mathematics, and turning down 2 high-position jobs from the mainland, and insisting that I'm going to remain here in Hawaii to run for office and run and serve in 2 terms at least, because I was too familiar with the issues of Hawaii, and my political science job experience would have called for such a position.
All right, thank you, Steve. We'll move on now. Congressman Mark Tataii was elected to the House in 2014, succeeding Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa. His passing on July 20th left behind a legacy dedicated to advocating Native Hawaiian rights, servicing our veterans, supporting the University of Hawaii system, and helping small businesses. Those and many more issues made Congressman Tataii a valuable asset to the Hawaii delegation, and he will be dearly missed. Candidates, how do you plan on continuing the legacy that the Congressman left behind? Steve, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
That part of the legacy is quite similar to mine. I have been heavily involved in contributing writing the strategical articles against terrorism that has appeared since 2014. And my 3 books on Iraq War was published in 2006. And prior to that, I started writing again heavily since 2002. So my involvement in contributing to our military operations heavily started from 2002, because my main issue has always been human rights violations against tyrants, against the civilians by the tyrant Saddam Hussein and the rest of the tyrants. And, but it kicked in a new chapter, which was the war. And the war escalated heavily in 2014. And from then on, I have been writing to find a way to get rid of this menace of the international community and also the region, which has created millions of refugees. And that I'll continue my work in that area, and will be a part of the committees, appropriate committees in armed services committees and other committees, to try to educate my colleagues in Congress and finding a way to get rid of this menace of the international community.
All right, thank you, Steve. Thank you.
I too care about Congressman Tataii's legacy, as I said earlier, and I'm committed to following in his leadership by promising to keep the same belief systems and mission statements as Congressman Tataii has so diligently worked for. I promise to continue to support women's health issues, which allows women the right to choose, and to support federal funds to continue keeping women safe and healthy. I also continue to support gun control, but with gun control reform, I should say. I believe that we need to enact stricter laws on background checks and delays in gun purchases to keep Americans safe from individuals, especially those suffering from mental health issues. On that same note, I promise to continue to support our LGBT community by enacting new laws to protect business establishments serving the LGBT consumers, either with a video surveillance camera, public signage, or alarms to turn off loud music and auto lights when gunfire and explosives are ignited in a nightclub-type establishment. There's absolutely no reason for this type of hatred to be accepted. I will do everything in my power to make safe and appropriate changes to current gun laws. Thank you.
All right, so we're moving on to some questions that we've generated beforehand. We'll start off with something light. Our first question, who will you vote for in November and why? Lei, we'll start with you. You have a minute.
I'm a Democrat, so I'm Democrat top to bottom. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. She's awesome. She's going to be our first woman president. Yeehaw. And I believe in the same thing she believes in. She's hardworking. She's family oriented. Everything she does was to fight for the rights of children and getting all kids to get a fair and equal, fair and appropriate education. That's also known as FAPE in the education world. But she also went as far as to make sure kids who are disabled or in wheelchairs, that they got the same education benefits, and she leveled the playing field for all these children. Thank you.
Well, voting for a president for me in this election involves the fact that if they have demonstrated to me and to the nation and to the world that they are honestly and genuinely against terrorism. I saw quite a few flaws in Hillary Clinton's leadership as a Secretary of State when she supported the arming of the so-called modern terrorists, modern militias, which turned out to be the very terrorists that we are fighting against. As far as Donald Trump is concerned, I believe that he should also slow down in his slogans and use experts in the area for the advising purposes, and so I haven't really decided yet.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Our next question. What will you do to advocate for and support the University of Hawaii system? Steve, we'll start with you. You'll have 2 minutes.
Well, my issue has always been lowering the tuitions. And that was what it started after my graduation in 1986. And I shared that with the late Congressman Tataii. And even years after I graduated from outside, I came back to UH and took part in the rally vigorously and objected to the leaders that were trying to increase the tuition for the students. I believe that especially for the local students, the tuition should be very minimal, like in the past. So my issue would be mostly in that area.
All right, thank you, Steve.
You know, the price of education, it's hard to put a dollar value on it, but I know that I support programs that assist students after they graduate from college to reduce their school debt by either working in a lower socioeconomic area for say 5 years, and it's reduced by 20% every year, and then I think, or 10% and 15% until it's paid off. And again, just promoting the different, you know, when I was in school, I walked into UH and there was a wall of scholarships based on your ethnic background, your financial need, your GPA, your major. So it is there. Maybe we, you know, there's so many ways to put yourself through school. And of course, if you're Native Hawaiian and you qualify for Kamehameha Scholarship, which is how I put myself through school. But yeah, you know, we need to provide incentives to the students to assist them in reducing their school debt.
All right, thank you, Lei. Our next question, what is your opinion on the current process by which people immigrate to this country? You'll have 2 minutes. Steve, we'll start with you.
I think that we need to support the immigration of the refugees from war-torn areas of the world primarily, and that should be on our top priority. We can't just afford to let everybody in, you know, more so than the war-torn regions in the world, and especially that this issue is, it calls for this position. It wasn't so before, but now, since 2014, due to, again, this huge terrorism issue, we have hundreds of thousands of refugees leaving the area, while nearly 5 or 6 million have already left and are living on the camps in the neighboring countries and trying to get visas to enter to other countries. It's very difficult for a refugee to come to the United States. The United States will never have the problem that some of the European countries which face, for example, Turkey and Greece would have, because they already hold millions of refugees, especially in the northern part of Iraq, in the Kurdistan regional government area, which itself holds about 1.8 million refugees, and we need to support those countries, and that we need to give them financial support that they need, because all of the money that they have has already depleted, and they're asking for more money. So that's what we need to focus on our agenda.
Yeah, I agree with Steve as well, that we need to support the immigration process, because if you really think about it, America is based on immigrants. I mean, everybody came from somewhere at one time or another, whether it was Italy or Spain or Portugal. I mean, even Hawaii is made up of all different populations that migrated here over the years. So I am for immigration and allowing them into our country, and to make the process easier for them to be a citizen of the United States. I think that we can all benefit and learn from the immigrants coming in. I also support any bill that would encourage an easier process for the immigrants. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next question is about the Jones Act, which mandates that all maritime actions in native waters take place on American ships. Will you do anything to alleviate the Jones Act's effects on Hawaii? Lei, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, so the Jones Act, also known as the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, it plays a critical role in protecting our national security by helping us maintain our ability to build, crew, and deploy U.S. ships when they are needed. And this is a quote from Colleen Hanabusa. I want to give her credit where credit is due. But a review by the Maritime Cabotage Task Force in 2003, she adds, determined that the Jones Act costs Hawaii residents $5.52 per person per year, less than 2 cents per day. That is a small price to pay for the security of our state and our nation. U.S. Representative Mazie Hirono adds that Hawaii is at least 80% reliant on imported food. We're hundreds of miles away from major shipping routes. Relying on foreign shippers who easily decide to stop in Hawaii is not profitable, or who would charge us big fees to veer off their major routes, doesn't guarantee that our hotels and shops have the foods and goods they need to support our economy. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Steve.
I think that that's the issue that has been going on for a few elections. I'm not that much in support of the Jones Act. It needs to be revised, and we need to regulate the process of the ships coming to our shores, and as well as the security issues that now it entails any shipments of any kind to come to our shores. So in general, that's an issue that I'll have to continue observing its development and study it. But my main issue, as I mentioned, is in the area of the war strategies against the terrorism.
All right, thanks, Steve. This next question is just for you. We'll give you 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond. In 2008, you ran as a Republican. Why did you change parties?
Well, I actually was quite disappointed from what happened in 2002 when I was in the Democratic Party, and that the party and our members of the inner circle, members of our political process in Hawaii ganged up on me and took away my victory after I won in 2002 based on the person to the HRS 11117-B, which forced me to file lawsuits after lawsuits. After 5 lawsuits, I still was not able to reinstate my victory. And this was unfortunate because I don't like to consider myself as a minority, but I guess some sources or entities looked at me as that, and I have been in Hawaii most part of my life. I speak 6 languages, Hawaiian being the last. So my attempt failed. And so I didn't really know which party to choose to run in 2008. The party of the Republican Party is very small, and I thought that they could use my expertise in the area of terrorism and so forth. But unfortunately, they were self-centered and they had their own interests in mind. And in that election, I garnered about 40,000 votes against Neil Abercrombie, who did not show up for a debate. So he won. He would have lost if he had shown up for the debate, because he was mostly behind what happened in 2002, and that so he again betrayed our voters and me. So I'm still running for office, and I really never imagined to run for office until this race, this seat, which is an open seat, came up and found the strength in me to once again run, perhaps for the last time. So I want to give the voters one last chance, and this is the last chance I'm going to give the voters, and that if they really want to change in a positive way, they shouldn't waste their votes for other big shot, special interest oriented, long time politicians, and vote for me, Steve Tataii. Mahalo.
All right, thank you, Steve. Lei, this next question is just for you. The Democratic Party has stated that they believe in a $15 minimum wage, yet you are calling for a $12 minimum wage first. Can you explain your break from the party platform at this junction? We'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, it was probably just a typo in my research. I totally support $15. That sounds better than 12, doesn't it? But I do want to say that I believe in, like I said, the 4 E's, the energy, the environment, the education, and the economy. And I want to continue to support Takai's. Tataii once said he wanted to continue support of leading Hawaii into the 21st century by reducing dependence on fossil fuels and being ahead of other states by growing our own vegetables and being self-sustainable through the solar, wind, and ocean and geothermal energy. I will continue to Congressman Takai's effort as a member of the Safe Climate Caucus and focus on Hawaii's goal to be 100% clean energy state by 2045. Do we have more time?
Go ahead.
National defense is vital in protecting Hawaii from possible evasion from foreign countries. So again, like I said earlier, I promise to continue to support national security in keeping our national defenses strong and solvent in the Indo-Asian Pacific regions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This next question is for both of you. You'll have 2 minutes to respond. Earlier this summer, Hawaii Senator Brian Schatz has submitted a proposal to President Obama to expand the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument out to the full 200 nautical miles of the U.S. Exclusive Economic Zone. Would you support this proposal and other proposals protecting Hawaii's natural environments, and why? Steve, we'll start with you.
I support that. I support any national or congressional act which supports the preservation of our natural environment nearby or far from our Hawaiian Islands, because we are running out of space in our urban areas, and our rural areas are becoming more and more polluted, and we need to preserve some space and environment for our endangered species, and so I'm in support of all the natural reserves.
All right, thank you. Lei?
I also would support Senator Schatz If elected to the U.S. Representative Congressional District 1, environmental initiatives would be on my top agenda, and I will continue to do such things as working with Senator Hirono on the coral reef conservation and subcommittees as the Zika virus, coordination of a multi-agency response, and Hawaiian Electric Company $3.4 million to improve electric grid technology and renewable energy, to name a few. Thank you.
All right. Our next question is for the both of you. You'll have 2 minutes to respond. Do you support the national recognition of Native Hawaiian sovereignty, and why? Lei, we'll start with you.
Yes, I do. I think it's a long time coming. I think that once President Clinton, the husband, once he gave that apology letter to the state of Hawaii saying that they were wrong and they apologized for the actions that they did, that started the ball rolling. I think the hardest part of it is going to be all these Native Hawaiian groups, how they're going to decide what to do with the information that's available to them. I know they're getting help from the federal government as how to create different mission statements or bylaws. And I know there's a lot of people opposed to it, but from what I read, whatever land you own, you still own it. If you're on the Hawaiian Homelands waiting list, it doesn't throw it off of, so a lot of things are the same. But I think they have to determine how they're going to do it, and that I see is going to be a long struggle ahead of us.
Well, having many other groups now living in Hawaii alongside with the Native Hawaiians, it will not justify for the Native Hawaiians not to have an independent sovereign nation of their own. An independent nation of Hawaii with its own government at this point needs to be on equal grounds with the two governments of state and the federal, and that it should be operating in an interconnected way with the Native Hawaiians to have their own independent rules so that they could govern their own people and govern their own land where they live on, including the cedar land and the Kaho'olawe. And some of the issues are very sensitive and need to be preserved, such as the Ahupua'a concept, and also the fish ponds need to be brought back, repaired or reconstructed for the usage of not only the Native Hawaiians but also for the general public, for our increase in our economic self-sufficiency. And so the Native Hawaiians need to have their own government based on an equal ground with the other two governments, and they have to still yet write a constitution which would support that. I supported the Akaka bill to a certain extent. It always needed improvement, and I threw my hat in to increase that. I've participated in many meetings and rallies regarding that in the past two decades, and I will continue more work on that.
All right, thank you, Steve. Lei, this next question is just for you. Okay. Much of your work and educational experience centers on mental health, yet nowhere on the issues page on your campaign website is there mention of mental health issues. Can you please explain that? You'll have 2 minutes.
Okay. Yes, my background is in mental health. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. I have a second concentration in marriage and family therapy. I'm also licensed as a mental health counselor. I think that I address it in the homelessness issue, where I always felt that why is someone homeless? It's either addiction, mental illness, or they just had, bad luck. But those three categories seem to be the primary reasons. I've done private practice. I think mental illness, I think that mental illness carries a stigma, and that needs to be changed. And to me, mental illness is like if you got the flu. You get the flu, you take a shot, you get medication, and you get better. And I want to change that kind of stigma that people have against mental illnesses. If it's in was that my website or something?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was the question? I didn't address mental illness or something?
Yeah, we just wanted to...
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm a very grassroots. It's just me and my husband and my son. I'm not really campaigning. But everything I did was I did my own website, my own web page. So probably I may have overlooked that, and I apologize to the committee. But yeah, I deeply care about the homeless and mental ill, and I have family members suffering from that, and it's just sad that there's so much stigma about it. And I think more monies need to be sent into Hawaii to help with that on all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to respond, Steve?
Yes, I also agree with that, the notion of the stigma, and this is also a part of the Native Hawaiian issue as well, because a lot of the Native Hawaiians have been wrongfully labeled as mentally ill, and they are incarcerated. To incarcerate someone is a very huge task by taking away their freedom. And in order to solve this problem, again, we would go back to the same issue of independence and sovereignty, because the concept of ho'oponopono need to again be revived for the community of Hawaii. The Hawaiian community don't have to be judged in all of the cases by non-Hawaiian judges, because then they would be easily discriminated against, and this needs to be corrected.
All right, we'll continue on this topic of mental health. This is for both of you, of course. Earlier this year, one of our sponsors, the Associated Students of the University of Hawaii, supported a bill that would bring more mental health care professionals to UH Manoa. What actions will you take to promote mental health in Hawaii and the United States as a whole? You'll have 2 minutes, and Lei, we'll start with you.
Okay, like I said earlier, I think more education needs to be promoted so that the public can understand the dynamics of mental health and change the stigmas that go along with the person's crazy, lolo, and really, have a better understanding of the things that cause somebody to maybe be depressed or unhappy or anxious. And I think we need to just promote more, like we're promoting green and eating healthy and exercise, and that's all about promoting mental health. Eating well, exercising, maybe taking vitamins, and there's also, like, depending on your mental health concern, it could involve going to group therapy, and a whole bunch of other things. So how I would help mental health in Hawaii is we could kind of like be the leader in the state by embracing mental health as something that happens all over the world. It doesn't discriminate against anyone. And how do we accept people, that aloha spirit that we have? So we accept everyone, no matter what their, background or deficiencies are. And from that, we can learn to just take care of all of ourselves and our people and everyone, to get a better understanding that mental health is just another level of taking care of yourself.
All right, Steve?
It all starts with education, really, from the very beginning, and a healthy diet. when we don't have a good, healthy diet and exercise program, the babies, the kids from the early age will begin to have brain defects, and it's something that they will not understand, and maybe we won't understand when they grow up, and we would label them as mentally ill. And so I think education is the number one part which would play a major role in the problem of mental health. And by educating the public, the mother should not be involved in drug problems. So drug addiction plays a major role, because that also tinkers and affects the genes in the baby and creates some deformities and mental issue problems later on in life.
All right, thank you. Steve, this next question is for you. A significant part of your platform seems to be focused on military strategy in the Middle East. What do you believe is the best approach to combating ISIS? You'll have 2 minutes.
I believe that the focus should be on the forces, the local fighting forces on the ground, rather than focusing too much on other people, the U.S. military sending our forces to those regions. Now, the part about the local forces on the ground, when we have followed the news, we can see significantly how YPG or YPG, the Union Defense Forces of the Kurdish forces in the north of Syria, are fighting against Daesh or ISIS very effectively, and have taken control back from the ISIS, and are also taking over many, or maybe thousands of other villages which now are under their control. So what we need to do is we need to give them more support and the weapons that they need, as well as to the Peshmerga in the next door in Iraq, something that they have been asking for since 2014, and that we have played these politically correct games with them, sending the weapons first to Baghdad, and then Baghdad, if they approve it or allow it, then they would send it to the Peshmerga. Now, the Peshmerga have been on the front line, and they have been the most effective force fighting against Daesh and ISIS. And we are beginning to learn that. We have already learned that. It's been late, but late is better than never. And that, again, we need to continue on that road. We need to be consistent. We cannot just stop and then start again. Even one day delay would cost tens and hundreds and thousands of lives. And then once you lose a town, it would take months or years to get it back to street fighting. So what we need to focus on is on the local forces which are doing the actual fighting on the ground. And we need to also try to work with the Russian forces in coordination in this process, rather than challenging them and picking on them and playing these really naive and childish political games that our politicians sometimes play because of the past issues that we have had with Russia, because the Cold War is over. So now we need to focus on getting rid of the Daesh and ISIS, and also taking the tyranny and tyrants away from the region. For example, in Turkey, there is still a dictator, a huge tyrant ruling in Turkey, and we need to change that regime, because they are the ones who supported the ISIS and allowing them to pass through the borders from Turkey to Syria, and gave them weapons, and also allowed the injured to come back to Turkey and get treated in their hospitals.
Thank you, Steve. Lei, response?
As I said earlier, I think I support national security and keeping our national defenses strong and solvent. But I also believe, make peace, not war. I mean, for me, of course I would support at the national level, but I feel that we need to continue and expand on peace initiatives to work with these other countries, because right now the hot topic is Iran is starting to build nuclear warheads and stuff. So we need to keep those lines of communications open, continue with the peace initiatives, and just, communicating and talking and, figuring out how best we can work together.
Can I add something?
I believe in, the bipartisanship, where it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. We need to all come together for the common good of humanity. Thank you.
And I'd like to add something to that, because what we really are fighting for is to stop the war. We all need to have peace, and the people who are fighting right now under the attacks and invasions of these terrorist regimes never wanted to fight. In fact, they're the most peaceful people on the face of this earth. For example, the Kurds in the northern Iraq and in the northern Syria, with 12,000 years of history, they never bothered anybody. They did not invade any country or anything. So these terrorists came at them and started killing the civilians, the children. And so in order for the Kurds to organize, it took them some time, and that delay caused hundreds of thousands of civilians to be killed. So our goal is, of course, is peace, and that's what, for example, my own agenda, my own goal has been since I started writing and trying to come up with a solution to solve the problems in that region, because the region will never end its war as long as the Kurds have not achieved independence since 1920. 1920 was when the colonial power divided the Kurdish land into 4 pieces, and that's like 60 million people homeland. So they have been fighting to get it back, and that's why the wars continue. And as long as that is continuing, the war will not stop.
All right, thank you, Steve. For both of you, what do you perceive as the biggest challenge ahead for our nation, and what is your proposed policy solution? We'll give you 2 minutes, and we'll start with you, Lei.
Okay, so the biggest challenges of our nation, I think it's a combination of everything that we have discussed tonight. I'll just go over something that we haven't, and that was organized labor is vital if we are to survive and protect our working class employees and unions, especially with the Koch brothers, slave mentality about
Koch brothers, you guys need to know what you're talking about if you're going to run for office.
Koch brothers, thank you.
You're both terrible. Veterans need help in this state. Mark Tataii didn't do shit.
Just scram,
okay?
Scram, just scram, okay? Just scram, okay? Just get.
Thank you, sir. We'll take that into
You're
account.
pathetic. Don't run for office. Don't waste our time.
So like I was saying, especially with the Koch brothers, slave mentality about money being disguised as benefits when in reality it's a way to dehumanize our working class brothers and sisters in Hawaii and across the United States. We have to educate the middle class citizens of the death trap that is threatening our health benefits, retirement, and future contracts, and to ensure what we have worked for the last 50+ years does not disappear in vain. So specifically I was talking about, because I am a state worker and I fall under HGEA, or Hawaii Government Employees Association, we had a lot of information just going around of how this group of brothers who have a lot of money want to take away our benefits, and if they do, they can just tell you that your job's no longer needed, or they can, they can take away all the benefits that these unions have worked for us. So I was just saying how important like organized labor is and how important it is to have the different unions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lei. Just to remind our candidates to stay within the time limit, it is 2 minutes. Go ahead, Steve.
I think that our economy needs a lot of improvements. Our banking system, for example, are charging a lot of interest, and if you want to get a loan, it's nearly a disastrous experience for our citizens. And also the politicians need to get their acts straight. We need improvements in our election process. We need to have clean elections in all of our states, some worse than the others, and the media should play it fair. We need to actually revitalize the problems of our financial for the campaign financings of the candidates, and allow the media to do free advertisings for the candidates rather than charging them an arm and a leg. And that we need to have equal timing advertisements for the candidates. These are critical and important issues, and if we don't follow these rules, we will always end up to a bunch of sort of re-electing machine of incumbents in Congress, and our problems will not go away. And the big corporations will get richer and richer, and our poor get poorer and poorer, and our wages stay stagnated instead of being raised to $15, for example, or $20 an hour.
All right, thank you, Steve. This next question is for both of you. You can take 2 minutes. What specifically did Mark Tataii do for veterans that you will continue if you are elected to office? Steve, we'll start with you.
Sorry, repeat that again.
What specifically did Mark Tataii do for veterans that you will continue if elected to office?
I support all the issues that Mark supported, and I don't have the list in front of me, but as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, my military issues are the same as Mark, and I will continue that legacy, and as well as that I will continue to support the Veterans Affair and also the veterans actually when they come back from war, we need to support them, the homeless especially, and we need to have rehabilitations to stop the suicide level of the veterans on their return home, and rehabilitations for those who have lost a limb. And my efforts will continue, and this goes hand in hand with my own proposals and my own struggle of a lifetime, which has been against terrorists and against the tyrants, and that for that purpose alone we need our military, and we need to increase the budget of our military.
All right, thank you, Steve.
I promise to continue supporting working with the military and veterans who need support in multiple areas, such as housing, medical, education, college and vocational, GI Bill benefits, and research funding in caring for our veterans who served our country. I know that Mark was working on, and I will continue to work with the Filipino World War II Veterans Program and the Veterans Parole Program to assist certain family members who are beneficiary of veterans to receive a grant of parole on a case-by-case basis to enter the United States as they wait for immigration visa to become available. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lei. Next question. What do you see as the future of renewable energy in the United States? If elected, what priorities would you support to move our state and our nation towards renewable energy? You'll have 2 minutes, Lei. We'll start with you.
As I said earlier, renewable energies and keeping our environment clean and toxic free for our children and their children's children is vital. This is only possible, again, through Congressman Tataii's continued support of leading Hawaii into the 21st century by reducing dependence on fossil fuels and being ahead of other states in growing our own vegetables and being self-sustainable. And again, like I said, you know, using renewable energies like the wind, solar, the ocean, geothermal energy, and so forth. But I'll continue working with, you know, like on Congress Tataii's issues and challenges that he worked on in Congress. And one of them was the Safe Climate Caucus, and another one was his goal for Hawaii to be 100% clean energy state by 2045. Thank you.
All right.
Solar and thermal energy, of course, and wind energy. And I was one of the first candidates ever that promoted all electric cars, all electric vehicles, no hybrid, I mean, just fully electric. And mentioned a couple of made and models like Volt from Chevrolet. And I remember that in that speech, which took place in the Palolo neighborhood meeting, I mentioned that, and it's on record. So I'm going to follow and continue supporting that. That area, the electric vehicles are still improving, and it is predicted that by 2020 we will have the best system in the vehicles for the full electric, running engines, as well as our solar system. So by 2020, so we can speed that up by, I guess, working harder. Thank you.
All right. This next question is for you, Steve. You have said that Kurdish military fighters are in control of this situation in Syria in the fight against ISIS. Aside from your Kurdish heritage, what makes you believe in the Kurds' fighting ability so much, more so than U.S. ground forces?
Well, they would not have any objections for the U.S. forces joining them, but what they actually continue to clarify is that they are already on the front lines. What they need is more advanced weapons and in a consistent flow of weapons and the modern weapons, more advanced weapons, because this other group, as you can recall, in 2014 invaded the Mosul army garrison and stole thousands and thousands of the most advanced weapons, including the Humvees and armored vehicles, which was unbelievable. And so for this reason, the Kurds need to have a matching type of weapons and also equal amounts, or if not more, weapons. And ammunition. Ammunition should not run out. And also to actually not to regulate how much weapons we're sending. We should just send whatever that they want to the Kurdish areas, because it will be in a secure and in good hands. And I believe in that because I've visited my own region, which is not in this area, but in another part. And I've spoken with them on many occasions, and I continue following the TV streamings of the region because I speak some of the languages that I can understand. Otherwise, I couldn't write any of those articles effectively if I couldn't speak those languages. And that is why educating the Congress by people like myself would be critical and crucial, so that we can prevent wasting money and time and catching up with what we lose and leave behind. And that is why my election would be critical, and I'm not running for money or fame. These are the areas that I would like to promote and educate my colleagues when I get there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve. Lei, this next question is for you. You have been quoted saying, I personally oppose, quote, I personally oppose war in any circumstance, end quote. Will you oppose U.S. military action in the event we are attacked by a foreign nation?
No. So my philosophy or my way of life is not to fight, and I wish that we could solve our differences better. But if that happened, we of course would have to, again, national security and protect the United States. So we would have to do what was necessary, but I would hope that it would be the last resort.
Yeah, I like that. And one of the main areas that I have been good at and I have worked and I will continue to work is to stop the war between the warring nations. And that takes a lot of articulation and talent to do. You have to actually be able to create that kind of environment through negotiations, through suggestions. So those are the most important part of the warring nations to stop fighting. Otherwise, any nation could create a war by, for example, being disrespectful to the neighbor and not having any consideration to the people and their beliefs. And so that can go on and on, as it has gone on for a century in our modern times. And my efforts in creating a war-free zone in the region has been one of my top priorities that I have worked on and I will continue to work on. And one other thing is that I wish to win this election, because then most of my time, a great deal of my time, will be spent in the Situation Room. And instead of watching them attacking somebody or just letting them attack each other, I could come up with the best solutions that I can, that I'm able to, I'm good at, and hopefully and possibly prevent that war to go on and stop that conflict. That's very important.
All right. So this is acting sort of as the final question and the closing statements for both of you. How will you, if elected, advocate for the legislation you will propose? We'll start with you, Lei, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Okay, can you repeat the question?
The actual question, how will you, if elected, advocate for the legislation that you will propose?
Well, again, I support bipartisanship, which is the belief that we can come together as a nation for the betterment of our country by putting our Democratic and Republican views on the wayside and find common ground through compromise. In theory, of course, but it would always be what is for the good of everyone, and how do we make the right decision. And it's always about getting the most funds that we can get so that the money can funnel back into Hawaii to help the different resources and programs that are out there that need our support. So my number one objective would always be to fight for the resources that is available in Congress so that I can bring it back to the people of Hawaii. Thank you.
All right, Steve?
I think in the preliminary stages is when you discuss the issue with your colleagues in the committees and then on the floor, and support that, defend that, and try to write a bill which would be easily understood by all members and educating the members, passing flyers, sending emails. Those are some of the techniques that I would use, and I believe that legislature or the Congress would have a lot of resources that I could use, and that I would be in good hands using those resources than if I was on my own, doing it from my own personal computer. And that's the reason more so why I need to be elected and go to Congress and do this education process on my own, because doing it outside, as I have already demonstrated and proven to those who have read my articles and are familiar with my lectures and teachings, know that I am on the right track. It's only if I was in a higher leadership position when I would actually escalate and be able to carry out and implement the tasks that are beneficiary to Hawaii, the state, and the world.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions we have for this forum tonight. I'm sure we're all good for standing another hour, but I'll let you go. I'd like to thank both candidates for attending and sharing their opinions and thoughts with us. So thank you, Lei, and thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
We'd also like to thank our co-sponsors, the Associated Students of the University of Hawaii and the Americans for Democratic Action, and of course, our viewers. From Kaleo o Hawaii, I'm Spencer Oshita. Thank you, and good night.